Welcome back to Beyond Markets. Now, Dubai-based Phanes Group is an end-to-end solar power provider operating across Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, and the Commonwealth of Independent States. CEO Martin Haupts says the Phanes Group is a truly Dubai homegrown company, and CNBC Africa's Chris Bishop caught up with him in Dubai and asked how Dubai is serving as a springboard for the company and their work in Africa.
Thanks, Chris, for having me. Phanes Group is a solar company. We have a Silk Road focus, so we develop, we build, and we invest in solar plants. Now we're in 28 countries, and we are truly Dubai homegrown company.
And just what does Dubai give you as a springboard? And particularly you're doing a lot of business in Africa at the moment. What does it give you here, that springboard?
Dubai is a great way and a great place for conducting business. So it has a fantastic infrastructure. It's easy to attract talent. And going back to the old days, to Silk Road, it was always a hub for the markets we service. So from here, it's 3 hours to Kazakhstan, it's 3 hours to Kenya, it's 5 hours to Malawi, and that certainly works out for us.
Just give us a sketch of because I'm told it was to commercial conclusion, was it not, at the end of last year, yes, your project? Just give us a sketch of actually what you've done there.
So in Malawi, we won by competitive tender that was overseen by the Millennium Challenge Corporation. That is the basically a US sponsored NGO driving a lot of initiatives in developing countries. We and two other companies, we won the award of building a solar plant. So just to give you a little bit an idea of Malawi, it's a country with 20 million people. A lot of the revenues come from mining and tobacco. And if you look at the energy infrastructure, in Europe, a 20 million people country would have roughly 20 gigawatts of generation capacity. In Malawi, that is 350 megawatts. So it's a 500th of what you would have in OECD or in a more developed country. And that shows you the whole problem that without energy access, people cannot do businesses, schools cannot be illuminated, hospitals cannot be powered. The whole basically clockwork of civilization comes to a halt. So we were given the concession by the government as part of this tender to build a solar plant in 2 phases. So that's 45 megawatt, which will increase the generation output of the country by 10-15%. And yeah, it has been an interesting journey. It took 2 years to get the project to completion. And end of last year, we signed with OPIC, that's the lender of the US government, which is now called DFC. We signed the loan agreements.
Where do you start in a project, Malawi? Like, where was the first day? What did you have to do? Where do you start on a project like that?
Look, when you do African power projects, compare them to the development you would have here in the Middle East or in other countries or in the UK or South Africa, a very, very, very big factor is you have to collaborate well and liaise well with the communities. Because especially the societal structures on the countryside, they're very tribal. So a lot of the land you need for building a solar farm, and that is a lot of land. So for our 45 megawatts, we will need roughly 90 hectares. The actual patch of land is a little bit larger. But 90 hectares is a lot, yeah, and so you cannot just come and grab that. But you have to go in a long consultation process. You compensate farmers for the land that they're losing. You work well with the chiefs and with the communities to actually become a partner to them. And that is paramount. Yeah, so a lot of projects in Africa fail because of community interaction not done so well, and it's something that you have to do with a lot of sensitivity, but at the same time you have to drive it forward because obviously there's a lot of moving pieces in play.
But there's one of the nicknames for Malawi is the warm heart of Africa, as you probably know. But I've worked there a number of times myself as a journalist, and when I came into contact with officialdom, it wasn't always a warm heart that we received. How did you get on with the government, the bureaucrats there, for want of a better word?
Look, I mean, it's for all emerging and frontier markets. Principally, people want to make stuff happen. But then you encounter these organizational gremlins. Regulation is not yet ready. You are sometimes you have disjointed or uncoordinated decision making on the government side. Sometimes you have practical problems like fluctuating currencies. Yeah, our PPAs, they are denominated in hard currency. That is, of course, a fiscal burden for these countries. So you have to overcome a lot of legal, regulatory, and then also technical issues. Yeah, I mean, if you think that in a country where 350 megawatt goes into the grid and you increase the capacity by 15%, grid needs to be upgraded. There need to be detailed studies. So that is certainly not for the faint-hearted because it takes a very long time and a lot of money.
And unfortunately, it seems that the renewable energy that you're talking about, it may become a hot political issue in the future. I point you to South Africa, where the independent power producers, when they were trying to get their money and their contracts finalized for all the investment, the idea was to attract some foreign investment into building it up as a hub in South Africa. But two of the arguments put up by some of the politicians and the unions was, one, a lot of the government money would be going overseas to the foreign investors, and secondly, they were saying, oh no, it's going to create job losses in the coal-fired power stations. As you can see, a lot of people, in many ways, it's a no-brainer that Africa should go over to renewable energy. But on the other hand, I think there's still going to be a lot of resistance to it. What do you say?
Look, I mean, South Africa is a special case because South Africa, on the baseline, despite all the ups and downs that you've seen in the last couple of years, it was a success story. I mean, it still has the largest amount of renewable energy deployed on the whole continent. But then again, you have all the issues that you just highlighted, yeah? And you have a similar debate in India where you also have a big coal industry. That's certainly feeling a lot under pressure by the renewable sector. If you look at the other sub-Saharan countries, they have a little bit different challenges than South Africa. I mean, South Africa has, with roughly 60 million people, 40 gigawatts of deployed capacity. If you look at any other country in sub-Saharan Africa, that is lagging far, far, far behind. So generally in countries with weaker grids, renewable is the only solution because it can be quickly deployed, it is decentral, it is also very affordable. And that's why I don't see this big pushback such in South Africa.
But again, the government say that in the new integrated resources plan in South Africa that they're pushing ahead, the renewables are going to become a bigger and bigger part. But still, at the moment, it still looks a bit like a drop in the ocean. I mean, some of the people I've talked to, the experts say you'd have to fill an entire province with wind farms and solar farms to actually feed the nation with renewable energy. I don't know, is the technology going to change that?
You mean in terms of...
In terms of, yeah, supply. I mean, it seems that a lot of the renewable energy projects now are still very small. It's almost like a bit of a top-up, if you like, for the national grid.
Look, I mean, in South Africa, I would almost disagree with that point, because in the North Cape you have these very large solar farms that are at least 75 to 100 megawatts a piece. I would almost make the point that what South Africa could use is a more decentral way of deploying the solar power, because at the moment in the North Cape the population density is very low, and you have to evacuate all the renewable energy that is produced there to actually the populous areas in the country. And the problem in South Africa is the grid is a little bit outdated. So for other countries in Sub-Sahara, especially the ones which are lagging far, far behind, in Sub-Saharan Africa, you would probably want to employ a more decentralized way of deploying the power.
And speaking about other countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah.
I've spoke to scores of businessmen who've done business there. Not the easiest place to get in. When it comes to renewable energy, what's the reception like?
Look, DRC is a country which is very, very important for us because, in principle, they have it all. Yeah, it's they have the resources, they have the population, they have a lot of prerequisites for generating renewables, so hydro, solar, even wind. But it was a country very much shaken by political turbulences in the last decades. One of the big problems in DRC is the grid. Yeah, because the grid is completely outdated. Exactly what we discussed in the case of South Africa. You cannot plaster the whole country with 75 megawatt farms. You have to go a much more decentralized approach. We are having very, very intense discussions with the government to enter the market now. We are very, very welcome. The president is encouraging FDI at the moment very much. They see the potential which lies in renewable energy, not only for powering the communities, but also powering the industry like the mines. Also, I mean, we are conducting every year a business plan competition, which is a little bit a pro bono activity, where we are supporting young entrepreneurs in Africa to help them realize their renewable projects. This year's winner, so it's the third time that this is taking place now, and it's called the Solar Incubator. And this year's winner was from DRC, and it has created a lot of positive buzz and was covered a lot in local media. So we're very proud of that, and we want to be a partner for the DRC in the next years to come.
Just lastly, very briefly, what sort of a legacy do you want to leave in renewable energy across Africa with your business?
We want to be one of the companies that actually help roll out energy infrastructure across the continent, not only in one or two selected countries, but across all of Sub-Saharan Africa. So we look at the continent as a whole, and this is where we want to be part of the solution. And
the investors, do you think they're going to come to the party?
Very much so, very much so. We see a lot of interest both on the equity and on the debt side. It's not anymore an exotic proposition if you pitch an African power project. And I would even be as bold to say the shortage in Africa is not the access to capital. The shortage in Africa is the amount of eligible and bankable projects. And this is where we're working on to lead it to the better.
And that was CNBC Africa's Chris Bishop speaking to the CEO of Phanes Group, Martin Haupts. And that's it on today's show. Remember, you can watch Beyond Markets at 5 p.m. West African time daily and have access to all previous episodes of the show on our website. That's at cnbcafrica.com. Also, stay engaged with the hashtag Beyond Markets and share your thoughts with me on Twitter on my handle. That's at Kenneth Igbomo. And have a wonderful day.